Before we begin, here's a quick note. This is the powerful story of how one woman turned humiliation into a revolution that changed an entire industry. Comment below where you're watching from. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. The brown liquid slid slowly down Leah Raymond's curls, soaking the collar of her crisp navy blouse. The scent of Coca-Cola mixed with the stale office air as Tracy Lambert's laughter echoed through the bright yet sterile workspace of Orion Strategies, a prestigious marketing firm in downtown Manhattan. Oops, Tracy smirked, crushing the empty can and letting it clatter onto Leah's desk. Thought you needed a refresher. Your pitches were getting a little flat. Laughter erupted nearby. Derek Sloan, the junior account coordinator, held up his phone, gleefully recording the incident on his latest iPhone. Everyone, say hi to our diversity hire taking a soda bath, he called out. Next to him, Emily Zhao from HR typed furiously into her phone, chuckling between keystrokes. This is what happens when you hire based on checkboxes instead of talent. #reality. Leah didn't flinch, her caramel curls dripped, and her soaked reports for the upcoming investor pitch curled at the edges on her desk. At 29, she was the only black financial analyst at Orion Strategies, a fact she had never been allowed to forget. You know what your real problem is? Tracy sauntered over, the click of her designer heels loud against the polished floor. You don't know your place. A public university degree doesn't mean you get to sit at the same table as the rest of us. The office was unusually quiet for a Friday before Labor Day. A few employees hovered near the glass conference room, some peeking in from their cubicles, most of them awkwardly silent. A few stifling grins. Leah raised her eyes slowly, calm and unshaken. The gleam in her eyes, which Tracy mistook for tears, was something else entirely. Determination. Without a word, Leah picked up her phone and began typing. Tracy leaned over. What's that, sweetie? Calling your Uber boyfriend? Derek jeered. Betty's from the Bronx and had to take the subway to visit you in this executive world. Emily laughed, biting her nail. Stop it, you guys are awful. But come on, Leah, this whole act of yours is exhausting. What none of them realized was that Leah Raymond wasn't just an employee trying to climb the ladder. She was playing a longer game, one they were about to lose. I'm just letting someone know, Leah said softly, sending her message with a gentle tap, that you've made a really important decision today. Tracy frowned, confused. Excuse me? In about 15 minutes, Leah said, glancing at the slim, understated watch on her wrist, an elegant Patek Philippe no one had ever noticed before. You'll understand everything. The phone in Derek's hand lowered slightly. Even Emily stopped typing. Something was off. Leah's stillness wasn't fear. It was control. And then it happened. The exclusive elevator, normally reserved for board executives, dinged. A hush fell over the floor as three sharply dressed security officers stepped out, followed by a tall, commanding man in a tailored Tom Ford suit. Leah, his voice was low, steady, and unmistakably authoritative. Ethan Graves, CEO of Graves Equity and one of the most powerful business figures in the country, locked eyes with her. Are you all right? Time seemed to freeze. Leah nodded once. The man's jaw tightened as he turned toward the trio by her desk. If it were up to me, he said, voice like ice, this would be handled a lot more harshly. But let's start with the basics. He turned to the security team. Please escort these three out. Immediately, Tracy stepped forward, laughing nervously. Excuse me, who do you think you are? This is our office, and Leah is our staff. No, Ethan replied, taking a protective step toward Leah. This is my office. Graves Equity is the majority shareholder of Orion Strategies. Derek's phone slipped from his hand and hit the marble floor with a sharp clatter. Emily's hands trembled as she opened LinkedIn on her phone. Ethan Graves, Chairman, CEO, net worth, $8.1 billion. That's what happens, Leah said, finally wiping the cola from her face with a tissue. When you assume you know someone just because of the color of their skin or the name on their resume. The room stood still. Tracy's mouth parted as if to speak, but no words came out. The truth began to land, slowly and painfully. Leah's story with Ethan had started 4 years earlier at a tech conference at Stanford. She was a scholarship recipient. He was a keynote speaker. What began as a conversation about data modeling turned into an unexpected partnership, and eventually, marriage. But why are you even working here? Emily asked, voice cracking. Leah finally smiled. Because I believe in earning my place. I didn't want to use my last name or my husband's to get ahead. I wanted to prove I could build something without being handed it. And she had. For 6 months, Leah had documented everything: emails, video clips, private messages, even security footage, systematically building a file of proof. You assumed my silence was weakness, she said, turning to Derek. It wasn't. It was dignity, something you wouldn't understand. From the elevator, another figure stepped out, a sharp-eyed man in a gray suit. Daniel Rhodes, legal counsel for Graves Equity, and Leah's longtime confidant. I have complete documentation, Daniel said, opening a folder, including evidence of moral harassment, racial discrimination, and workplace hostility, all of which will be filed with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. This is insane, Derek shouted. We were just joking around. Jokes? Ethan picked up Derek's phone, which was still recording. You call this a joke? He hit play. The office filled with Derek's voice. Look at our diversity hire taking a soda bath. Bet her boyfriend lives in the Bronx. Emily began to cry. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I have bills to pay. I didn't know. You didn't care. Leah said coldly. You just never thought there'd be consequences. What none of them knew was that Leah had also recently developed a new data analysis system, one that increased Orion's efficiency by nearly 50%. It was already patented and licensed under her name alone. You have 30 minutes, Ethan said firmly. Clear your desks. If you attempt to retaliate, you'll face legal consequences. That's a promise. Tracy spun around to the employees watching from the conference room. Are you really going to let this happen? You know how she is. The office stayed quiet. Some turned away. A few nodded subtly at Leah. Then Jamie Brooks from IT stepped forward. Actually, Tracy, he said clearly, most of us admire Leah. You're the reason people hate coming to work here. As security approached, Leah calmly gathered her belongings and paused beside Tracy. You know what's ironic? She whispered. I was going to quit today. But thanks to you, I've got something better. She glanced down at her watch. 3:47 p.m. In exactly 13 minutes, the first company-wide memo would go out, one that would start a ripple effect nobody could stop. The air in the office was dense, tense, as if everyone were holding their breath. 13 minutes had passed, and right on schedule, every computer monitor in Orion Strategies lit up with a single message. Effective immediately. Organizational review and ethics audit in progress. All departments must comply. It came from the office of Ethan Graves, CEO of Graves Equity and now the unmistakable force behind the firm's reckoning. Confusion spread across the floor, but it quickly turned to something else: fear. People stared at one another as if realizing, for the first time, how complicit silence could be. Back in the main conference room, Daniel Rhodes, Ethan's lead counsel, set up his laptop on the large presentation screen. Behind him, Leah stood tall, her blouse still damp but her resolve iron strong. This is ridiculous, Derek Sloan blurted out as 2 security guards boxed up his belongings. I didn't harass anyone. It was just a joke. Emily laughed too. Emily Zhao stood frozen, mascara running, her phone forgotten in her hand. Emily, you participated in this, Daniel said, evenly. Multiple recorded instances show your involvement. I was just trying to fit in, she whispered. You didn't just laugh, Leah replied. You filmed me, mocked me on social media, and joined a private chat called Quota Crew. Gasps erupted in the room as Daniel clicked through screenshots of a WhatsApp group filled with racist memes, stolen photos of Leah, and derogatory captions like, lost intern from the Bronx, and quotas strike again. You created this, Ethan said to the trio. Now it's time you live in it. Just then, Jamie Brooks, the IT manager who had spoken up earlier, entered the room with a flash drive. I pulled the metadata, Jamie said, handing it to Daniel. They used company servers. Every chat, every image, time-stamped and backed up. There's no denying it. Leah exhaled slowly. 6 months of biting her tongue. 6 months of data collection. Of enduring silence. And now, The truth was pouring out, digitally, publicly, and irrevocably. You thought because I was quiet, I was weak, Leah said, her voice low but resonant. But I've been preparing for this moment. Every insult, every slight, I recorded it, I cataloged it, I built my case while you laughed. Derek slumped in his seat. It's not fair. You set us up. Leah looked at him squarely. No, Derek, you set yourselves up. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences. Suddenly, the large screen flashed again, this time with a title. Evidence of hostile work environment, Raymond versus Orion Strategies. Below it, a series of video clips played. Snippets of meetings where Tracy talked over Leah. Footage from the break room where Emily rolled her eyes as Leah entered. Derek mimicking her voice during a presentation when she wasn't around. The clips were short, damning, and undeniable. The final video was the one filmed earlier that day, Derek's own footage. His voice, laughing. Hey, look everyone, diversity in action. Want a soda shower? The video ended, and silence fell once more. Daniel stepped forward. Under Graves' equity policy, any partner company must maintain strict ethical compliance. Based on these findings, we are invoking a clause that requires immediate termination of any personnel proven to have violated harassment and anti-discrimination codes. He dropped 3 folders onto the conference table, one for each of them. Effective immediately, Tracy Lambert, Derek Sloan, and Emily Zhao, you are terminated. For cause. Tracy finally spoke, wild-eyed and trembling. You can't do this. I've been with this company for 11 years. I built this office. You think some intern with a soft voice gets to ruin that? I'm not an intern, Leah said, stepping closer. I'm the creator of NovaTrack, the data efficiency software that just raised this firm's productivity by 47%. Tracy blinked. Ethan nodded. And I'm buying out Orion's remaining stake in it, at full market value. The patent is in Leah's name. You mocked the one person whose algorithm will transform this entire industry. Firing us doesn't solve anything. Emily shouted. This was never personal. No, Leah said firmly. This was always personal. Because every time you mocked my background, every time you laughed at my clothes, or ignored my input, you were telling me I didn't belong. And I do. Security moved toward the trio. But Leah raised a hand. Wait, she said, one more thing. She pulled out a thick folder from her bag and handed it to Daniel. The full archive. I want this shared, not just with Graves' Equities board, but with every major partner, every investor, and every compliance officer on record. Daniel nodded without hesitation. Emily gasped. You're going to destroy our reputations. No, Leah said, you already did that. As security finally led them out, the rest of the office began to stir. Whispers gave way to murmurs of relief. Some employees approached Leah hesitantly. I'm sorry, one woman said. I should have said something months ago. I saw how they treated you. I understand, Leah replied gently, but silence is complicity. Remember that next time. She turned to Ethan, who placed a hand gently on her shoulder. We're not done, she said. Ethan smiled. No, we're just getting started. Later that afternoon, Leah stood in the executive conference room, her laptop connected to the main screen. Ethan, Daniel, and a small group of executives watched as she began her next presentation. This, she said, pulling up a sleek interface, is EquiHire, an AI-based system that flags patterns of discrimination and bias within company communication systems. Emails, chat logs, meeting transcripts. It uses predictive modeling to alert HR teams before harassment becomes systemic. She clicked again. The dashboard showed projected adoption across several Fortune 500 firms. It's ready for implementation. Graves' Equity will pilot it starting Monday. Ethan looked impressed. You built this while working here? Leah nodded. They gave me the perfect environment to test it. Daniel smiled. Let's fund it. One condition, Leah said. All profits go to the Leah Raymond Scholarship Fund. Full rides for underrepresented youth in tech and data science. Ethan extended his hand. Done. That evening, an internal company-wide email went out. It wasn't just a memo. It was a manifesto. True equity doesn't come from quotas. It comes from breaking systems that were never built to include everyone. Starting today, Orion Strategies becomes the first Graves' Equity company to undergo a complete cultural audit. From this day forward, talent will be seen, heard, and empowered, no matter where it comes from. Employees forwarded it to friends. Some cried, others felt seen for the first time. Leah sat back, finally letting herself breathe. The soda stains were gone. But what they left behind was a legacy in the making. 6 months later, the auditorium of the Lincoln Center in New York City was filled to capacity. Not for an opera or a concert, but for the premiere of a groundbreaking documentary. The Algorithm of Justice. How One Woman Rewrote the Rules. Leah Raymond stood behind the podium in a sleek navy suit, her natural curls cascading over her shoulders, her expression poised and serene. Cameras from CNN, BBC, and independent media were trained on her. In the audience sat CEOs, activists, educators, and, most importantly, hundreds of young black students from underserved communities. When they poured soda on me, Leah began, her voice calm but resonant. They didn't know they were watering something much deeper. They thought they were humiliating me. Instead, they fertilized the roots of a movement. The crowd broke into applause. Behind her, a montage played, clips of her developing the NovaTrack algorithm, the explosive day at Orion Strategies, and the launch of her revolutionary project, EquiHire, an AI-driven platform for tracking workplace bias in real time. The documentary revealed that EquiHire had already been adopted by over 900 companies, including Microsoft, Apple, JP Morgan, and Netflix. It had flagged over 32,000 instances of bias before they escalated into formal HR complaints, preventing lawsuits, walkouts, and reputational damage. All profits, as promised, were going into the Leah Raymond Scholarship Fund, which had funded 342 full scholarships in its first semester. Recipients were now attending MIT, Howard, Georgia Tech, and Stanford. The audience cheered again as Leah's parents were introduced, her mother, Diane, a retired nurse, and her father, Robert Raymond, a former city bus driver who stood silently wiping tears as his daughter placed her hand over his. "My parents gave up everything to give me a shot at education," Leah said, "and when the world tried to take that dignity away, I remembered who I was raised to be." The camera panned to Ethan Graves, seated in the front row beside his legal team, including Daniel Rhodes. He nodded solemnly as Leah spoke, pride evident on his face. The documentary didn't shy away from exposing the fallout at Orion Strategies. It detailed how Tracy Lambert, Derek Sloan, and Emily Zhao had filed wrongful termination lawsuits, only for each to be dropped once the full evidence files were submitted to the court. Tracy had moved out of state, her name red flagged on internal HR networks across the financial sector. Derek had attempted to rebrand as a corporate culture consultant, but his past followed him, making him a case study instead. Emily had deleted all social media accounts and was reportedly working remotely as a freelance data entry clerk. But Leah never gloated. This was never about revenge, she said during a quiet scene in the film, her voice steady. This was about transformation. We can't dismantle injustice by becoming what hurt us. We rise by building something better. The most emotional moment of the night came when Jamie Brooks, the IT staffer who had first stood up for Leah in the office, took the stage. "I watched it all happen," he said, holding back tears, "and I did nothing until it was almost too late. But Leah showed me that courage doesn't mean being the loudest. It means being the one who acts when silence becomes complicity." He was now CTO of EquiHire. Backstage, Leah received a message on her phone. It was from an unknown number. "Miss Raymond, my name is Nia. I'm 17, from Detroit. I just got a full scholarship through your program. I never thought college was even possible. Thank you. I won't waste this." Leah's hands trembled slightly. She showed the message to Ethan, who stood beside her. "You started something unstoppable," he said. "I just wanted it to stop hurting." She replied, "I never imagined we could make it matter this much." The camera panned to a large screen on stage where new text appeared. Projected expansion. Leah Raymond Fund, Global Pilot Phase, 2026. Estimated total scholarships by 2030 to 5,000 plus. Target regions: US, South Africa, Brazil, India, UK. New initiative. Raymond Center for Ethical AI Research. The audience gave a standing ovation. Later, during the press Q&A, a journalist asked, "Leah, what would you say to people who think you ruined those employees' lives for a single mistake?" Her answer was unwavering. "They didn't make a mistake. They made repeated choices. And while I believe in forgiveness, I believe more in responsibility. The real tragedy is how long they got away with it before anyone listened." One reporter asked if she had any regrets. "I regret that I stayed silent for so long," she said, "but I don't regret what I did with that silence once I decided to speak." The final scene of the documentary showed the former Orion Strategies office, now a repurposed education and innovation hub named the Raymond Institute for Digital Equity. Inside, young black coders, engineers, and analysts worked at state-of-the-art stations. Some had been homeless. Others had never touched a laptop until this year. Now they were building the future. As the camera faded to black, Leah's voiceover rang out. "You asked me if it was revenge. It wasn't. Revenge ends something. But justice? Justice begins something. I turned humiliation into opportunity. Because the best legacy is one that makes sure no one else suffers in silence." A few months later, The Algorithm of Justice won Best Documentary at Sundance. Then an Emmy. Then an Oscar nomination. But Leah kept working. When asked by Time magazine how she stayed grounded through the fame, she said, "I'm not here to be famous. I'm here to make sure no other girl walks into an office and has to prove her humanity." And she meant it, because what started with soda dripping down a blouse had ended with thousands rising out of shadows. And Leah Raymond? She didn't just change a company. She rewrote the future. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe to Tell Night. At Tell Night, stories remind us that healing begins with hope, and even the gentlest kindness can rewrite a destiny. Don't forget to tap the bell so you never miss a story that could brighten your day or transform your perspective. Until our next story, keep your heart open and your spirit brave.